Tom is 6 years old, sitting at the kitchen table, staring at his cereal, not eating. His hands are shaking slightly. Sarah notices something is wrong, but Tom cannot tell her what it is. He just feels afraid. This is anxiety. And if you're raising an autistic child, chances are you've seen this moment before. The freeze, the silence, the fear with no clear reason. Today, we're exploring why anxiety and autism are so deeply connected. Research shows autistic children experience anxiety at much higher rates than their non-autistic peers. Some studies estimate up to 40% of autistic kids meet criteria for at least one anxiety disorder. That's nearly half. But here's what most parents don't realize. For an autistic child, anxiety doesn't always look like worry. It can look like anger. It can look like silence. It can look like a meltdown over something that seems small. To understand why, we need to understand how an autistic brain experiences the world. It's not broken. It's not overreacting. It is simply built to process sound, light, uncertainty, and emotion more intensely than a typical brain. The first reason autism and anxiety are linked is uncertainty. Autistic brains often crave predictability. When a schedule changes, when a plan shifts, it can feel like danger. For Tom, even something as small as his cereal bowl being the wrong color this morning was enough to spike his heart rate. Not because he's difficult, because his brain flagged different as unsafe, instantly, without his permission. The second reason is sensory overload. Bright lights, loud noises, itchy clothes, crowded rooms. These aren't just uncomfortable for an autistic child, they can be genuinely threatening to a nervous system taking in more sensory information at once. When a body is constantly bracing against sound, light, and touch, it stays in a low simmer of stress all day. Add one more small stressor, and it can boil over into what looks like a tantrum, but is really anxiety. The third reason is social communication. Autistic children often want connection just as much as anyone else, but reading facial expressions, tone of voice, and unspoken social rules can feel like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. Every day. Imagine walking into a room every day, not knowing if people are happy, annoyed, or joking with you. That guessing game, repeated constantly, is exhausting. Over time, that exhaustion can turn into chronic social anxiety, even in a 6-year-old. The fourth reason is called alexithymia, difficulty identifying and naming your own emotions. Many autistic children feel anxiety in their body long before they have words for it. Their stomach hurts, their chest feels tight, but they can't say, "I'm scared." Instead, that unnamed anxious energy has to go somewhere. Sometimes it comes out as a meltdown, sometimes as shutting down completely, sometimes as pacing, rocking, or repeating the same question again, searching for reassurance they can't quite explain. There's also a fifth factor many parents haven't heard of: masking. Older autistic kids, especially girls, often learn to hide their struggles to fit in, suppressing stims, forcing eye contact, copying peers. That constant performance is draining. Masking might make a child look fine at school, but the anxiety doesn't disappear. It gets stored up. And often, it comes pouring out the moment they get home, where they finally feel safe enough to fall apart. That's why so many parents say, "My child is calm at school, but explosive at home." It's not that home is the problem. Home is simply the one place they trust enough to release everything they've been holding in all day. So what does anxiety actually look like in an autistic child? It's rarely a simple, "I'm worried." It can look like repetitive questioning, asking what happens next over and over, not for the answer, but for the comfort of hearing it. It can look like rigid rules, needing things done exactly the same way, because sameness feels safe when everything else feels unpredictable. It can look like avoidance, refusing somewhere new, not out of stubbornness, but out of fear. It can look like physical symptoms, stomach aches, headaches, trouble sleeping, a racing heart before something as ordinary as a birthday party. The body is speaking a language the child hasn't learned to translate into words yet. And sometimes anxiety looks exactly like a meltdown. Loud crying, screaming, or shutting down completely isn't defiance. It's a nervous system quietly overwhelmed for hours, finally reaching its limit, with nowhere left for the feeling to go. Let's go back to Tom. That morning at breakfast wasn't really about the cereal bowl. It was the third schedule change that week. Dad left early for work, the dog was barking outside, and now one more thing tipped him over. Sarah didn't know all of this in the moment. All she saw was a 6-year-old refusing to eat, breathing fast, gripping the table. Her instinct was to ask what's wrong, but Tom didn't have the words. He just felt overwhelmed. Instead of pushing for an answer, Sarah knelt down to his eye level, lowered her voice, and said quietly, "You look like your body feels scared right now. I'm right here." She didn't ask him to explain. She just stayed close. This is one of the most powerful things a parent can do: co-regulation. An anxious nervous system cannot calm itself down through logic. It calms down by borrowing calm from someone else's steady voice, steady breathing, and steady presence. Slowly, Tom's shoulders dropped. His breathing slowed. He didn't say, "I was scared," because he still didn't have those words yet. But his body told Sarah everything she needed to know. He felt safer, simply because she stayed. This moment matters more than it seems. Every time a parent responds to anxiety with calm instead of frustration, the child's brain quietly learns something enormous. My feelings are safe here, and someone will help me through them. Every time. So how can parents actually help an autistic child manage anxiety day to day? Let's talk about 3 practical, evidence-informed tools that make a real difference, starting with the one thing almost every anxious autistic child needs most: predictability. Tip number 1, build predictability wherever you can. Visual schedules, warning before transitions, and consistent routines aren't about controlling a child. They're about removing one giant source of stress, so their nervous system fights against less each day. For Tom, a simple picture schedule on the fridge changed mornings completely. He could see breakfast, then shoes, then car, laid out in order. The unknown became known. And when the unknown shrinks, so does the anxiety hiding inside it. Tip number 2, name the feeling for them. Gently, without pressure. Saying, "Your body looks worried," or "That seems like a big feeling," slowly builds the emotional vocabulary many autistic children haven't developed yet, one calm moment at a time. You're not diagnosing them. You're not correcting them. You're simply narrating what you see, the way you describe the weather. Over months and years, this quiet narration becomes the language your child eventually uses to describe their inner world. Tip number 3, create a calm down space before it's needed, not during a meltdown. A quiet corner with soft lighting, a favorite object, noise-canceling headphones, or a weighted blanket gives an overwhelmed nervous system somewhere safe to land. The key is introducing this space when your child is calm, so it's already familiar and comforting before the storm hits. A calm down space discovered mid-meltdown feels like punishment. A calm down space known in advance feels like a refuge. It's also worth remembering, anxiety and autism isn't a behavior problem to be corrected. It's a nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems are built to do: protect the body from perceived threat, even on an ordinary Tuesday. That shift in perspective changes everything for parents. Instead of asking, "How do I stop this behavior?" The real question becomes, what is my child's nervous system trying to protect them from, and how can I help them feel safe? Lily, Tom's older sister, has learned this too. When she sees her brother getting rigid or repeating a question, she doesn't tease him or tell him to stop. She simply sits beside him and says, "I'm here," the same way their mom does. Michael, their dad, has learned something else, that his own calm matters just as much as his words. When he keeps his voice low and his movements slow during Tom's anxious moments, Tom settles faster than with any explanation. None of this means anxiety disappears completely. Autistic children, like all children, will still have hard days, hard mornings, hard transitions. But with predictability, emotional language, and a safe space to land, those moments become smaller over time. It's also important to know when to seek extra support. If anxiety is frequently interfering with sleep, eating, school, or daily functioning, a pediatrician, child psychologist, or occupational therapist can offer strategies tailored to your child's needs. There is no shame in asking for help. Therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, adapted for autistic communication styles, along with occupational therapy for sensory regulation, have shown real evidence-based benefits for many anxious autistic children and families. Back at home, weeks later, Tom sat at the same kitchen table. His schedule was on the fridge, his weighted blanket was folded on the chair nearby, and when his cereal bowl was, once again, the wrong color, something different happened. He paused. His hands tightened slightly. But instead of shutting down completely, he looked at Sarah and said the only two words he needed. Scared. Bowl. Two words that carried an entire ocean of feeling. Sarah finally understood. She smiled softly, swapped the bowl without a single question, and said, "Thank you for telling me." It wasn't a full sentence. It wasn't perfect communication, but it was progress. Real, hard-earned progress, built one calm moment at a time. That's what supporting an anxious autistic child looks like in real life. It's not one dramatic breakthrough. It's 1,000 small moments of patience, predictability, and presence, quietly rewiring how safe a child feels inside their own body and mind. If you're a parent watching your own child struggle with anxiety you don't fully understand yet, please hear this. You are not failing them. Every time you choose calm over frustration, you are teaching their nervous system what safety feels like. Your child's anxiety is not a reflection of your parenting. It's a reflection of a brain working incredibly hard to process a world that wasn't built with them in mind. And you, showing up patiently every day, are exactly what they need. Let's bring it all together. Anxiety in autism comes from uncertainty, sensory overload, social exhaustion, difficulty naming emotions, and masking. It often looks like meltdowns, rigidity, or physical symptoms rather than simple worry, and deserves compassion, not correction. 3 tools can help. Build predictability with routines and visual schedules. Gently name feelings without pressure, and create a calm down space before it's needed. Small, consistent steps, repeated with patience, add up to real, lasting change. Every autistic child is different, and anxiety shows up differently in every one of them. But every single one deserves a parent who sees the fear behind the behavior and chooses calm, connection, and patience again and again, no matter the day. If this video helped you understand your child a little better today, subscribe for more evidence-based videos on autism, anxiety, and everyday parenting. Your child is not broken, and neither are you. You're both learning, together, one calm moment at a time.